guess what I'm holding besides the pyrite? I put the pyrite down.
What are you holding? I don't know. What are you holding?
A 10-pound dumbbell.
Excellent. Finally. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. Joe, Dr. Energy Piazza.
RaRa is in the house. Kathryn Asaro Myers.
Welcome back to BU Network Podcast, Conversations Worth Having. On our podcast, you can expect three things. 1, the BU guest moment. 2, the BU moment. And 3, the BU final moment.
As promised, we are giving you a very special audible on each show. Your job, well, not your job, it's to find it. You know the game Where's Waldo? Well, here we will ask you to listen for that audible. What a beautiful day it is today. I'm looking at the snow, and it's so bright when it's snowing. I would like to ask you what your vision is if you have a chance to look out the window right now. Let's talk about our BU moment.
Would you like my vision or what I'm seeing in the moment?
Okay. Let's do what you're seeing in the moment and then your vision, because I'm sure they're opposite.
Okay. Well, I wouldn't say opposite, but they're probably linked, but they'll be a little bit different. So what I'm seeing right now is, the time of year where we're approaching the holiday season here, and being in our nation's capital, that's Canada's capital of Ottawa, we tend to have a little bit more snow than in the southern parts of the country. Maybe not so much as some other parts of the country, like out east or in the mountains and the prairies. But it's slightly snowing today, and it's actually a very pretty picture looking out my window of my office / recording studio here in Ottawa. It's in the morning, so there's a little bit of sunlight trying to come through the clouds, but it just it gives everything that little bit of brightness. And I really, really enjoy these kinds of days. In fact, I can't wait to later on today to go and walk to work in this. That's one of my favorite things.
You can just hear the foot going into the snow a little bit, right? I love that.
Yeah, so that's what I'm seeing. And then as far as my vision goes, I'm seeing in the new year, this podcast getting out to thousands of people and being of use to people who might be having a tough time or just looking for ways to improve their life on a day-to-day basis, just with some simple strategies and ways to just make those incremental step-by-step improvements for themselves that they want to get to a specific goal. So that's my vision.
And where are you in your physical space aside from the city?
Oh, I'm standing here in the office, the recording studio, looking out the window. So my desk is right beside my window, so I can always see out the window. That's really, really important to me.
It is to have that light. That's a good BU moment. Is there anything that you want to share? Anything else about your BU moment?
I'm happy to be here speaking with you and with our amazing guest today, Tsufit, talking about confidence.
Yeah, thank you. That's awesome. This is a great conversation that we have. Let me talk to you about my BU.
Yeah, I want to know about yours too.
Okay, so I'm standing in my bridge room in Toronto, Ontario, Canada, and I am holding something that is really powerful. So I'm holding pyrite. So I'm going to read that pyrite is a powerful protection stone which shields and protects against all form of negative vibrations and or energy, working on the physical, etheric, and emotional levels.
Nice.
It stimulates the intellect and enhances memory, helping to recall relevant information when needed. So I'm in my bridge room holding, this is fool's gold, right? It's a really beautiful piece. And this was given to me, if I tell you 28 years ago, from a patient of mine from my psychology clinic. And at that time, I valued it, of course.
Right.
But 28 years later, I value it even more now. And to be holding it and remember the moment when I received that not knowing what was going to happen in life 28 years later. That talk about powerful protection.
Yes.
And against negative vibrations and energy, working on the physical and emotional levels. This pyrite has come a long way in my life, and wow, like that's I don't know, maybe it's 25 years. I may be off on the time.
Well, maybe you need to use the pyrite more so you can remember better how many years it is.
Because I'm thinking I'm here 11 years. Before that, I was 60. Yeah, so I'm probably right. It's probably 25, 26 years. Right. I'll hold on to it a little bit more.
maybe a few of our listeners need some help with memory. They should get some pyrite as well.
Get some pyrite, and this is a huge piece, Joe. I put it in the palm of my hand. It's the size of like a 3-4 ounce, I don't know, lamb chop or something.
Okay, that's good size.
Yeah, it's a great size. I could take a picture of this the way we did with my red
with the gloves. Yeah, we could put that on the podcast post. Yeah.
Okay, I'll take a picture of this, and that way we can have that in the image on our site. So I'm looking out the window, and it's snowing, and it is really bright. But I have a special announcement, and I know you're going to be excited.
Okay. Guess
what I'm holding besides the pyrite? I put the pyrite down.
What are you holding? I don't know. What are you holding?
A 10-pound dumbbell.
Excellent. Finally.
As soon as we finished the last show, I made sure, said to my husband, okay, I'm putting this by the front door. He's like, no, of course I'm going to do that. I said, I know you're going to do it. We said we were going to do it. We both said we were going to do it, but what should I do? So he said, yeah, put it by the door. It's a great idea. And then, so he changed it, and then I must have gone on an appointment, and I came back, and I stubbed my toe, and I went, why is that there? And he said, I know where you keep it. So I moved it, and I lied it down, so that way you would see it and know that I'm like, oh, that was so
He knows
funny.
You so well.
He does. That was so funny. So I'm so excited. So I'm in my bridge room with my 10-pound dumbbell.
Nice.
Alternating, holding with my pyrite, looking at the beautiful snow there's a lot of fir trees where we are, so it really looks pretty. And then the trees have lost their leaves are in between. There's a pond that obviously isn't working at the moment. And I'm amongst my thriving plantation and my indoor, greenhouse here. And I never mentioned this, but I'm staring at like 500 cards because that's what I have in between my plants.
Right.
So that's kind of a fun thing. And I decided to wear taupe. I wanted to be bright today because it was bright outside. So I put sparkles on my eyes, gold glitter, and I'm wearing taupe. And I thought, I'm going to be really pyrite sparkly today, with high energy for our show on confidence, because this is what gives me confidence.
Right.
When I'm in my BU moment, I'm sharing as you are when we're sharing our BU moment. But what the inner message is that I didn't have a chance to talk about is when I really want to feel good, I get myself into a headspace. So I do my breathing, I take those movements that we talk about, and then I add a little glitter to it. And that just puts a little bit of confidence in that moment. Right. So that's where I'm at with our BU moment today.
Nice, yeah. And for myself, as far as, what I'm wearing, because I know you want to ask me that.
I want to know what you're wearing. You're absolutely right.
And again, I'm not going to ask you. So I'm, as you can probably hear in my voice a little bit, it's a little nasally today. I've been experiencing a little bit of sinus stuff going on lately. So I'm, wearing a sweater that zips right up to my, right up my neck. So my throat is covered. I'm actually wearing a scarf as well around my neck, just to keep my throat warm and feel supported and relaxed and at ease. So I've got a glass of water here beside me as well, just to keep my vocal cords lubricated a little bit.
Yes.
Or my throat lubricated. Anyways, we can't actually lubricate our vocal cords because that's, if you put air down there, you're going to spit it all up because it's going to go into your lungs. This is where it helps to know your anatomy.
Yes, yes, it does.
But just keeping the throat wet and all the membranes of the mouth and the nose and the sinuses moist so that I don't feel so dried out and everything. So that's kind of where I'm at today. But knowing that I wanted to be here with you and Tsufit and really, taking care of myself. So.
Yes, thank you. We do need to take care of ourselves. And I'm very grateful that you mentioned that because in our moment, we talk about the physical surroundings, and we have obviously a spiritual and an emotional aspect and component to that. And taking care of ourselves and nurturing ourselves, that's important. Someone told me something the other day on how they listened to a particular podcaster and how that podcaster changed and helped them in their life, and changed their life because they listened to the podcast when it was important to them to have a boost. And the subject matter, for example, this show on confidence, this could actually do that for someone.
Absolutely.
And when I heard that, I was so touched that as we're producing and editing and creating our shows,
and having these conversations worth having, right?
Absolutely. We do not know the effect on, we do not know who it will have an effect on or what the effect is. I mean, we have our intention, obviously, and that's important to us. But when I heard that feedback, and that person actually got on a plane and went to go see that podcaster, and I thought, wow, we are affecting and effecting people without even knowing it. So my intention, and I know it's yours, our intention for our show on Conversations Worth Having and speaking about confidence is to take what we have to give and what our awesome guest has to give and to share that and pay it forward.
Exactly. Like, one of my favorite quotes is, you never know how far-reaching something we think, say, or do today will impact the lives of millions tomorrow.
On that note, I have the utmost confidence that this show will be enjoyed by those who listen to it.
Absolutely. So I think that's a great place to move on over into our interview on confidence with Tsufit.
Yes, see you on the other side.
See you on the other side.
Let me talk to you about this amazing woman. Actually, I would like to have this entire conversation just about how amazing she is. So let me read you something about my friend. I would like to take the liberty of talking about my friend. So I'm going to read something from her book, even though today we're talking about confidence, but this is important. After 10 years as a Dean's List litigation lawyer, Tsufit left law for the limelight, performing comedy on national television and gaining international attention on her debut music CD. Tsufit is now a marketing consultant who coaches entrepreneurs and CEOs to be stars, a popular radio and television show guest, a keynote speaker, seminar leader, and mom. Tsufit points out that she is not taking on any more clients in the last category. So if you tune in and didn't get the first part and comes to the mom category, now we're talk about confidence. Let me welcome Tsufit. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, Tsufit. How are you?
Happy to be here. Thank you for welcoming me.
You're welcome. We're talking about confidence, and I know that you have it. I feel it from you. Our audience will feel it. But let me ask you a question. What is there a little tip or trick? What is it that you do on an everyday basis that just boosts that for you?
Oh, okay. There's nothing that I do on an everyday basis that boosts that for me. And in fact, you know, I don't really think about it nowadays. And it's so funny. I have so many, just hearing your intro brought up, I scribbled a few notes because it brought up so many. Okay, full disclosure, by the way, when you interview me, you get the backstory too, not just what you're hearing on the air. So let me give you the backstory, guys, listeners. When RaRa, or Kathryn, as you know her, or Asaro, as I call her, invited me to appear on this show with her and Dr. Joe. And she told me the topic was confidence. I'm saying, yeah, I don't really talk about confidence. It's not really my thing. I don't really talk about it. And then I realized, I think maybe actually I did kind of talk about it in my book. I think that actually the book was on motivational lists on Amazon, even though it wasn't listed that way. It was listed as a marketing book. So maybe, so first of all, my first thought was, yeah, okay, maybe I know something about it, but it's not really something that I actively cultivate every day. It's not something that I do every day. But the other thing that I scribbled while you were talking, Asaro, was that when I was younger, I remember making this kind of list of like 10 things that I wanted to happen and, lose weight, do this, do that. And I did most of them. I lost the weight, all that stuff. And one of the things on the list was become more confident. And looking back at that, I'm thinking, what? And I'll just tell you a funny story about that. So I was at my high school graduation some years ago, and I went up to this woman who was like 5 years older than me. And I asked her if her brother was there because I had a crush on her brother when I was going to school. And she said, when I went up to her, I said, you don't know who I am, but, I was in class with your brother. I didn't tell her I had a crush on your brother. And she said, get this. She said, oh, I know who you are, right? I mean, she's 5 years older than me. In high school, 5 years is like a century, right?
It's a whole other world.
It's a whole new world. And I'm not going to burst into song. So she said, I know who you are. When you were just 8 years old, we moved into the neighborhood and you walked up to me, stuck out your hand to shake it and said, I'm Tsufit. Welcome to the neighborhood. Now, I had no recollection of that. I don't even know if it's true because, it doesn't sound like I don't shake hands. None of that sounds true to me. But, I mean, why would she make that up, right? So maybe I had this confidence when I was younger, but still, even in my 20s, some of you know I'm a singer also. But when I was in university, I completely lost my confidence around singing for a little while. A boyfriend at the time had to get me a record player with some Barbra Streisand tapes and whatever, or albums. And I started singing to it and I realized, yeah, I am a good singer, so I got that back. But confidence comes and goes. And it's also very situation dependent. You have to be comfortable in your own shoes. I'm comfortable with you guys right now.
Right.
So I'm very confident in this conversation. And thank the Lord lately, in the last, 10 years or so, anytime I'm interviewed on radio or TV, I'm generally pretty confident. But I remember once being at a music conference where we had to sing new songs that we had written for a panel of radio DJs or whatever. And I couldn't even breathe. I had no breath to sing. And so I must have, been nervous. And I don't normally get nervous when I sing or perform because I'm used to it. So I think it's very dependent on the circumstances that you find yourself in.
Well,
so long answer. I don't do anything every day to be confident.
No, thank you. Thank you for sharing that. You brought up a few points, and I just wanted to go back to the record player because I thought, wow, I remember that. So the record player with Barbra Streisand. So you're a singer, and you were talking about how you lost something. Maybe
I lost some confidence for a little while in that. Yeah.
So what did you do with the record player? You just listened to, not just.
Actually, I think it was. It may not have been actual records. I think they were tapes, but yeah, I listened to them and started singing with them. And just hearing my voice and singing, I guess I wasn't, the only singer. I'm singing with the tape. I don't know what it was that did it, but I'll tell you something else. As a singer, when I was driving to my gigs, I'm not doing them so much anymore, but I do still do speaking gigs. So when I was driving either to a singing gig or sometimes now to a speaking gig, I sometimes blast either Latin music or something really lively with a good beat or a good vocal on the CD player or a cassette player, whatever it is in the car as I'm driving, and I sing with it. And again, that gives me confidence. And I remember I had a client once who was putting on an event for 200 people, women, entrepreneurs and professionals. And she came to me for marketing, but also confidence is something that, now come to think of it, I discuss with most of my clients. Thanks for seeing what I didn't see, Asaro. So anyway, and I told her, before you go to your thing, if you're feeling a little nervous, put on some great Latin music. I mean, that works for me. And start dancing to it. I mean, that gives you confidence, right? Just start moving to it, physically moving. And I know people like Brendan Burchard and a lot of other people, they've got a seminar for, 500-600 people, 1,000 in the room. They just jump onto the stage, they pound the music, they jump around. And that kind of, Tony Robbins probably teaches something like that. If you can get your body in a certain state, then your mind will be in that state as well.
Yes.
Right. Well, actually, sorry. Go ahead, Joe.
Yeah, Tony Robbins talks a lot about having your power move in the morning where you set your energy for the day and there's a specific set of movements that each person creates while you're on a course with him and that just helps you set your energy for the day. And then there's Brene Brown talks about it as well in one of her TEDx talks about having those power poses to set the physiology of your body, so you get the right neuropeptides going through the body, so you feel that confidence and that excitement and power for the day.
Yeah, Joe, somebody in my LinkedIn group posted something about, it wasn't Brene Brown, I think it was somebody else, but posted some researcher talking about those power poses.
Right.
And this whole discussion about them. And I do believe in that kind of thing, even though I'm not that intentional about stuff like this.
Way.
Like I don't purposely do it, but somebody posted this as something, do it before a sales call, do this, do that. And other people in the group, my group is pretty contrarian. So anything anybody says, like butterflies are nice, they'll say, no, I hate butterflies. Butterflies are
sky is blue. No, it's not. It's black.
Butterflies are, a problem with climate change or whatever. But they said, no, that research is bogus. Now, I don't know if the research is true or it's been debunked, but personally, I believe that, if I wanted to be more confident right now, I could stand up, I could smile, I could hold my arms out. And actually, there's a story, which I also tell in the book, around this question of confidence. I can't believe I didn't see it when you asked me, because really everything I do is about confidence.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. So I was telling a story about how I was auditioning years ago for the musical Applause, local production.
Mm-hmm.
But it had, one woman in it, kind of was a star-ish person in it. And so anyway, I'm auditioning for this, and I did great in the singing audition because I'm a singer. I did good in the acting audition. I can act. Did well. Can't really speak. But the dance audition, I'm on stage with like 9 other dancers, good dancers, beautiful, long, leggy, dancers who can follow the choreography that we're being taught. And I'm clueless about, the choreography. And I think, well, what do I do? Because I'm being watched, by the casting people. So what I did, I stuck my arms confidently out, my sides. I put a huge smile on my face and I danced. And, God only knows what I did from the waist down. But from the waist up, I was super confident. And you know what? It worked. I got a call back for a lead role. I didn't end up doing it but I didn't get the lead. I got in the chorus. I didn't do it, whatever. But the point is, it was enough to get me a call back.
Right.
I was so confident that I made the 9 other dancers think that they had the steps wrong.
That's confidence.
And you said something earlier, Tsufit and Joe, when you were talking about your last point, sorry. It was about moving our body. So we used to have a business in Montreal, and our clients would come to us at all different times of the day, but around 6:30 in the morning, the judges would come to us. So we would work out. These are tough jobs. Like, we know that, right? Like, you're sitting all day, and this intellectual,
emotional too.
Yeah. Right. So many things. So what we would do in the morning is, when these judges would come to us, and there were different various ones, we would physically take the gym aspect and work with having the body feel good, because no matter what power position you have, you might be, and Tsufit, you mentioned it, sitting or standing. So I'm standing right now because that's what gives me confidence when I'm speaking about my voice. So it doesn't matter what the question is, it matters how I feel. So we would actually do these workouts in the morning, and I'm not talking about jumping jacks and jumping around. We customize them for each person. That way they could sit with confidence. Now, that was just something that those people tapped into, because they knew that they were sitting a lot and they needed to move the energy and the flow. Now, we need to breathe. It's part of our everyday, whether we want to or not, we do it every day. And when you focus on your breathing, this will help with confidence. I'll put this link in our page. Tsufit, you brought up some really good points with your clients, because we do them so automatically. We don't realize the great things that we do with our clients.
It's true. And with your judges, you could probably do an exercise where you get them to hit the gavel on the table, hit the gavel. Yeah. So, yeah. And it's interesting. I'm actually learning dancing right now. I'm taking some salsa and some bachata. And I find that that's very confidence building. It's just, you learn to move your body. And the more I learn the moves, the more confident I am with the moves. And the more confident I am with the moves, I find sometimes when I'm driving, I kind of almost feel like I'm dancing. And it's just totally empowering. So I would say that's really good advice, Asaro. Anybody who's like sitting around all day.
Right.
And actually, Joe, you initially brought it up. Yeah, anybody who's sitting around, like, whether it's a power move or just any kind of move. The other thing I do sometimes is I smile at myself in the mirror. And just smiling makes you feel good. And if you smile at other people and they smile back, now some will smile back and some won't. And that could be a real confidence killer if somebody kind of looks at you like you're nuts when you smile at them. But
can I just jump in there for a sec? One of the things that has actually been shown in research is that if you smile at somebody, they can't stop smiling in return. But even if it's just a little quirk of the corner of the mouth, they will actually start to smile before they can clamp down on it. So you can spread a smile.
That's very interesting. Also, probably research has probably says that, but it's funny because I posted also in my group. I challenged people to do it because I was doing it around my neighborhood. I walked, and most people did smile back at me. Not all of them. Some avert their eyes because it's so embarrassing for them. And some do look at you like you're crazy. But somebody tried it downtown and said, one person told him to blank off, and somebody,
the research was done with using muscle studies of the facial muscle and everything, and you can't. So they actually had sensors hooked up on people's faces. So you can't. It's an unconscious.
Can't argue with science. Can't argue with science.
Well, I'll give you a quick, cute story. When David and I got back together again, which was 11 years ago, just when we got back together. So I want to set the honeymoon stage for you so you get the picture.
I was there at that time. I remember that.
Yeah. So we were in Montreal before we moved here to Toronto. So you're right, Tsufit. And as I was leaving that condo there and wrapping things up to move over here to Ontario, I would take walks every day, as I still do. And when I would walk, I would put my mind through the items of what I had to do. And I was so ecstatic, really. Like my mindset was just in such a good place. And every day I would walk, and I would take pretty much the same route because of the condo where I lived and what I wanted to see. So I got to see familiar faces, but I was smiling because I was truly happy, like from the inside out. It was just an amazing time for me. And the months were July and August because I moved to Ontario in September of 2008. Those people, because they probably knew me or whatever the reason, I was smiling, and they would stop me and they would say, like, you're smiling every day. I had a path. And I would say, thank you so much. Yes, I'm really happy. And they would say, we really look forward to seeing you. And at that time, I never thought about blogging or anything, right? I was just living my life, doing my thing. And it always stuck with me that I took the same path every day. I was so excited for David and I getting back together and restarting our life. I was beaming, and I guess I couldn't, hide that. Not that I would want to. So that's a pretty contagious thing. And the confidence aspect, right? The aspect of that is I really felt it, and there was no pretentious move on my part. It was just me being me, taking a walk in my sneakers with my hair up, with, a ripped t-shirt, whatever. I was so happy. I was feeling like I was 28 again. All the things that went through my head were just setting like I was on the beach. I just brought all the amazing moments to my life right back because we got back together. I wasn't thinking of myself as being 50, not that it would matter at that point, but I had such a great mindset that it brought this confidence not only to me, but to these other people. So Tsufit, when you talk about dancing and moving, I can imagine you being in that audition, making all those other girls just feel like lack of, sometimes our confidence causes people to feel like they have a lack of confidence. Like, oh, did I forget that? Or somebody asks a question and you don't know the answer, and they're like, well, you don't know that? Well, it doesn't matter, right? You're confident about what you're doing.
It's interesting, actually, because while you were talking about you walking around beaming, I realized that I walk around, for many years, I would walk around reading. This is not recommended. That culminated August 4th in a fractured elbow. But I don't do that anymore. So I take this iPod that my 4 daughters surprised me with. They surprised me with this iPod Nano blue, my favorite color, and preloaded with all the songs that they sneakily found out that I love. I mean, the ones they knew and the ones that they found out I love. And so what I do now, I walk around the neighborhood dancing. Like nice. I'm 1, 2, 3, 5.
I heard about that from your neighbors.
Salsa, right? Yeah, or bachata or whatever it is. So so people smile at me sometimes for that reason, and sometimes I hide it if it looks pretend. But normally I just say, screw it, I'm just going to do it, and and that's also contagious. I mean that that makes you feel good, that makes other people feel good. But there's something I want to add to this, if I may. you know, there are people who are maybe at this moment not feeling confident, and they're hearing everything that we're saying, and they're going, oh, that's nice for you, Asaro, you were in love, and that's nice for you to be, you know, your dad, whatever. But what about me? I'm not feeling this. I'm not feeling this confidence, and nothing you guys have said so far is helping me, right?
Mm.
So I wanted to address those people and just tell you about a situation when I was in grade 9. Or for our American listeners, 9th grade. I actually was in the U.S. for 9th grade.
Freshman.
And yeah, well, I was in not freshman because it was in middle school, I think 7, 8, 9 or something. I think they start high school in 10 there, maybe. I'm not sure how it was, but anyway, that's what it was. So it was the highest year of a middle school, and I had never been to a middle school before. And so I was in you know, a full range of classes during the day. But at 9 o'clock in the morning, I had biology class. And I think at 1 or 2 in the afternoon after lunch, I had French class. So in French in Canada, you know, I had always gotten A's. I got, you know, good marks in many things. And, but I think we only did oral French here, just spoken, no written, no reading. And so I get there, and they had studied also how to write. And so we had like tests, like a spelling test or whatever. And I was getting like, I don't know, D- or something in those tests. Because I don't, how do I know how to spell whatever that blah, 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 blah word is you just said? I mean, it's enough to understand what the word is, but I don't know how to spell it. Nobody ever taught me. So I didn't do that well there. Also in the French class, the desks were arranged, you know, kind of like in you know, first grade or second grade, like in a row, in like, you know, 3 or 4 rows, and there's one desk at the front and one behind and one behind, right? And so I just didn't feel that comfortable in French class. And guess what, guys? In French class, I was shy and I was not confident. But that same Tsufit every morning at 9 o'clock, in biology, I was the Tsufit that you guys all know now, right? Funny and confident and, you know, friendly and, you know, comfortable in our own skin. And our desks were arranged in kind of seminar style, like a big rectangle or a square where, you know, all the desks that go around facing each other kind of.
Right.
And so every morning at 9 o'clock, I'm confident. Every afternoon at 1 or 2, whenever my French class was, I was shy and not confident. And so what's the moral of this story? Sometimes confidence has a lot to do with the situation that you find yourself in. Now, as a kid, you don't have that much choice about the situation that you find yourself in. But as we grow older, we have a lot of choices. We have choices about who, you know, with whom we're in a relationship, you know, with whom we live, with whom we work, clients. You know, I've had over 17 years of coaching entrepreneurs and experts and professionals. I've had, maybe I can count on one hand, maybe 2, the number of clients who intimidated me, and there have been a few. But most of them don't. And, you know, if they do, they're not good clients for me. You know, if I don't feel confident, how can I be a good coach? And in fact, in business, for those entrepreneurs who are listening, I think Dan Sullivan, who's coaches, a strategic coach, he says, you know, as entrepreneurs, that's all we're really selling is confidence. And that's what I say as well. Let's just pretend I said it first. That's all we're really selling is our confidence. Because if we can't be confident as coaches, as doctors, as, you know, lawyers, how can we get anybody to pay us? Why would they?
Right.
Well, that's a good point. And speaking about, like you said, Tsufit, the people that are listening and are not relating to perhaps at this moment being in love or having a thriving business or being able to sing or dance, they're having a moment. So let's speak to that audience, because you asked earlier about our audience, and whoever is listening to us right now, whether it's live, whether replay, we want to speak to you. What if confidence is not part of what's going on right now? So some of the things that we talked about were breathing. Breathing could bring confidence, movement, believing. But if that's just not in your wheelhouse at this moment, and confidence is nowhere to be found, and you're having one of those weeks, one of those moments, one of those years, Tsufit, let's go around the room, so to speak, and let's speak to those people. What would you, and Dr. Joe, Dr. Energy, what would you say? Well, we'll start with Tsufit, because Tsufit, if you're, you know, I know you can answer that. What would you say to the person who's listening right now, the audience that says, I'm not relating to confidence, period?
Well, you know what? In our society, especially in school, we're told to focus on the things we're not good at, right? Like, so, you're great in English, you're a great writer, but you suck at math. So come after school and we'll get you a tutor and we're going to spend all your time on math, and don't go to the drama club. You don't have time. You got to focus on math because you're really bad at it, right? Well, I don't know if it was Marshall Goldsmith or who it was, but some other guy. Anyway, Marcus Buckingham, maybe, I think, wrote a book called, so forget the book, but anyway, the concept is to focus on your strengths.
Mm-hmm.
Focus on what you're good at, right? Because that will bring you confidence, right? If you're a great singer but not a great dancer, then focus on singing. And you know what, that's what I did until now. I realized, well, I actually can dance, so I'm focusing on that. But if every time you do something you feel horrible at it, first do something that makes you feel good, and then maybe you'll have the confidence to try something that you're not as great at, or not. I mean, who says you have to?
That's a good point. Try that. Try something that you're good at. Focus on what you know or what you feel you can explore as being a positive.
Exactly.
Dr. Energy, so tell us, what would your piece of advice be to our audience?
Yeah, I'm going to jump off from what Tsufit said there about focusing on what works for you. In marketing, we talk, and in sales, many people heard the 80-20 rule. It's known as the Pareto principle. And that's to focus on the 20% of the activities that are going to bring you 80% of the result. And by focusing on what's working, you end up training the things that aren't working. It's almost like a part of you that is confident and knows what to do in one area is acting as a coach or a leader for those parts of you that are not quite so confident. So it's almost like we have this other observer within us that doesn't feel so confident about doing something and is watching the stuff that we're doing confidently, and we'll start to learn from it. And this is much the way I practice in my office as well as a chiropractor, is work with the areas that are already working, that are open and have some joy, some confidence, some peace, some ease. And then those areas that are stuck, closed, unconfident, etc., will start to open up on their own as the body starts to unwind itself. So whether we eventually try something that was formerly outside of our comfort zone or not, that's, as Tsufit said, we may or may not. It doesn't matter, but we end up having the choice to do it as we build that confidence by doing the things that we already are confident about.
Thank you. I'd like to I'll use that and then lead into something else. And I'm always talking about confidence with my clients. That's a question that comes up all the time. It is just typical. No matter what areas of life they're in, we're talking about that conversation. So I always start with breathing. That's number one. But what I personally do, so I want to talk about what I do for my confidence, and that may work for somebody who's listening. And if I don't have confidence in something, so I basically go into my yoga studio and I practice that breathing with a vagal nerve. So I want to be able to turn off that fight and flight and turn on rest and relax. And I do this every single day. So this type of breathing, and we can post some information in the on our website absolutely. After. So if you understand what vagal breathing is, you'll breathe in to the count, you'll hold it, you'll breathe out to the same count and hold it. So we do this every single day. And it seems like, what is that? So if you're relating to the fact that there is no confidence right now, and you're thinking, I don't sing, I don't dance, I can't do this, I can't do that, breathe through it. Now, that may seem simple, and yet it's very powerful. And one other thing I'd like to add to that is sit on the floor. Think about being a 2-year-old. I'm not confident. I'm not tall. I'm not thin. I'm not rich. I'm not this. I don't drive a nice car. Whatever it is that somebody's thinking. Or I do drive a nice car. I am tall. I'm thin. I'm rich. I still don't have confidence. Whatever. Sit on the floor. Take a different perspective. And when you do your vagal breathing, when you're doing that breathing, lie on the floor. Lie on your back. Lie on a mat. So those are my 2 pieces of information if you're listening, because you can do that. You can breathe. You can lie on the floor. You can sit on the floor. You want to take crayons, you want to color like a 2-year-old, like I do that. It's amazing. I do that because I have the possibility to do that with children of that age, but I certainly like sitting on the floor and taking a different perspective on things. Right. Someone took a picture of me last night and they said, I want to be at your solar plex level. And I said, well, I don't know how that photo is going to come. I don't really know if I want you there. And they said, okay,
That's
I'll
a little personal.
Right. I said, well, can you do it like this? And then after she said it, yes, I'll do it the way you want. I thought, oh, you know what? I didn't step into her space. I said, take it from the level that you want. Let me see what that looks like. I mean, I don't know if I would post this picture, but it's very powerful. Mm-hmm. I was like, wow, it's a great shot, but it's all, solar plexus. So be confident, breathe, take a different perspective. That's my piece of advice. And I love that we talked about that, Tsufit and Dr. Energy, about someone who's not relating to being confident at the moment. Now, I don't like looking at the time at all, but I'd like to go into a part of our show. Every single show, we talk about the BU final moment. And this final moment is not final forever. It's final for now. We can add to this. We can go on and add this on podcasts, on reviews, and go onto the site and make comments. But let's talk about what did we get out of this conversation, out of this show. And Tsufit, I'd love for you to speak to this first, please. Let us know, and our audience, how was the show for you? What is your takeaway moment?
So many. I don't think I could boil it into just one. And I got to tell you, Asaro, I ain't sitting on no floor. But I love your idea about the different perspective. Totally agree with that. And I would, seeing things from a different perspective. Breathing is not something that I habitually do. It's something I have to remind myself to do. So I did it with you when you were doing it. And I do it sometimes when I find myself not confident. I would just say to all you guys, you know what, go out there, wear flip-flops, release your inner Elvis. What I got from today is that there are a lot of ways to get there. It's important to get there, because really what confidence is being comfortable in your own skin. It doesn't mean being cocky. It means finding humility and just being comfortable where you are. And a lot of the most, not cocky, or people that seem conceited, or they're really out there and blowing their own horn, I think sometimes it comes because of a lack of confidence. Confidence isn't loud. So I don't know if I answered your question properly, but I'm confident enough not to worry about it.
No, thank you. Your takeaway. It's your takeaway. I appreciate that. Dr. Energy, what is your takeaway moment? Final moment.
Well, first of all, letting out your inner Elvis. There's a great little diner/restaurant here in Ottawa, right near where I live, and the owner is a huge Elvis fan, and Elvis pictures all over the place. And it's a fun place to be at. So thank you very much. And the other thing to take away is that there are very many ways to confidence and self-confidence. As Tsufit said, it's not about being loud. It's about having a certain energy that you bring to a situation. When you walk in the room, people know that here's somebody who knows who they are, who they're being in the moment, and isn't worried about what anybody else necessarily thinks about them. So the big takeaway for me is working with areas where you're already confident, and let that spill over into the areas where we're not so confident, and let that develop from there.
Awesome. I'll give
yourself?
you my Yes, thank you. I'll give it to you short and sweet. Be you.
Yeah.
Confidence is to be us,
What she said.
Yeah. Be exactly who we are at the moment. And if it's different to the next moment, then be that and love it and embrace it, and love us and embrace ourselves, and just be you, people. Be you, Dr. Joe. Be you.
You be you. Great.
Yeah, exactly. So thank you so much. This is awesome.
Okay, so first of all, I would suggest to you guys that anybody lacking in confidence may also consider getting a coach,
Yes,
whether it's a confidence coach or, in my case, I'm more of a marketing coach, but people say that one of the results is they feel a lot more confident. If you want to get in touch with me, there are a few ways to do it. You can come join my LinkedIn group at www.spotlightgroup.biz. You can grab the book that will help you become more confident at www.spotlightbook.com. You can get some free tips about what to say when you only have 30 seconds at www.spotlightsecrets.com, or you can go to tsufit.com, Tsufit, and engage with me there.
Beautiful. Thank you very much for that. And hopefully our listeners will get in touch with you and be more confident through working with you.
Thank you, Tsufit. This has been quite an honor, and I'm loving every minute of this show right now in this moment. This is an honor and a thrill. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Thank you for joining us. Sharing is caring. Tell your friends about conversations worth having on BU Network. We really appreciate your reviews, and you can do that on Apple Podcast. Thank you.
For show notes and links, go to www.b-u.network/podcasts. Connect with us via our website, www.b-u.network, and build a relationship with us. Sign up to receive information, updates, and your free video training at www.b-u.network/pro.
We're looking forward to hearing from you, and thank you for being with us. Ciao.
Ciao, babies.